Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for Spokane Public Schools Keep Learning Series for Literacy. This lesson is intended for all our kindergarten students out there, but any child who is interested and wishes to join us is more than welcome to do so. My name is Ms. Sobchak, and I'm a kindergarten teacher at Holmes Elementary in Spokane Public Schools. I will be your teacher for today's lesson. I'm so glad you're here participating with me today. If you would like to watch this lesson again or see any of our previously recorded lessons, you can find them on the KSPS website. Today we're going to read a book called Duck and Goose. It's a story about a duck and a goose who discover an egg at the same time. Then they argue over whose egg it is. As I'm reading, I'm going to stop and I'm going to point out some new and interesting words. I'm going to ask you if you've heard those words before. If you have, you're going to give me a thumb up. But if it's a new word for you or you don't understand what it means, you're going to show me a closed fist. Then we're going to talk about what these words mean. When you're reading and you come across new or interesting words or words that you don't understand, it's good to stop and think about what they might mean, because this helps you better understand what you're reading. For today's lesson, at the end, you will need paper and pencils or crayons. But during the lesson, all you'll need is your thinking cap and your great listening ears. I'm going to give you a few minutes to gather those supplies you'll need at the end. Great, let's get started. Duck and Goose, written and illustrated by Tad Hills. "Oh my, what is that?" Duck quacked. "That's a silly question," Goose honked. "It is a big egg, of course." "Of course it is an egg. I know that," huffed Duck. "What I mean is, where did it come from?" Goose looked skyward. He looked to the river. He looked to the fields. He thought very hard. "Who are you?" he asked finally. "I," said Duck, puffing out his feathered chest, "am the one whose egg this is. I saw it first." Goose quickly raised one web foot. "It's mine. I touched it first." "Hey, you should never put your dirty foot on an egg," Duck scolded. "Don't you know anything about caring for eggs?" "Yes, I do," Goose cried out. "Stop yelling," Duck yelled, then whispered forcefully. "Don't you know that you and your screaming are very likely disturbing the baby bird who is trying to take a snooze inside this egg?" Let's look at that word, disturbing. Give me a thumbs up if you've ever heard that word before. Show me your closed fist if it's a new word for you. Disturbing means you're interrupting or bothering someone. Duck is yelling at Goose. He's thinking that Goose's yelling is bothering the baby bird, maybe waking him up from his snooze. Goose wished that Duck wasn't right. He lowered his head and whispered softly, "I'm very sorry. Go back to sleep in there." "My, that's quite a beauty you have," called a bluebird from across the river. "Thank you. It's mine," quacked Duck. "Actually, it's mine. Thank you," honked Goose. "So," asked Duck, "what do we do now?" "We should do something," suggested Goose. "Yes, you are right. Good thinking," agreed Duck. "Like what?" Did you hear that word, agreed? Give me a thumbs up if that's a word you've heard before. Show me your fist if it's a new word for you. Agreed means that you have similar thinking to someone, that you have the same opinion. Duck tells Goose, "Good thinking." He agrees or has the same thinking as Goose. You can tell by their thought bubbles that they're thinking the same thing too. There's Duck sitting on top of the egg. It says, "No geese allowed." Goose is thinking the same thing. His says, absolutely no quacking in this area. He's thinking, no ducks allowed. They agree with each other. Duck and Goose each thought, well, we must keep the egg warm until the little fuzzy occupant is ready to come out, said Goose. There's an interesting word, occupant. Give me a thumb up if you've ever heard that word. Show me your fist if you've never heard it before. An occupant is something or someone who lives in a place or uses a place. They're talking about the little baby bird that's inside the egg. The baby bird is the occupant of the egg. Excellent idea, exclaimed Duck. He pushed past Goose. Step aside and I shall do just that. But Goose was quick too. After a flurry of fussing, grunting and groaning, slipping and sliding, honking and quacking, Duck and Goose found themselves back to back. Scoot over, I don't have any room, complained Duck. You are much closer to me than I am to you. Stop yelling in my ear, Goose. Shh, Goose hushed, pointing at the round thing beneath them. Yes, 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 we must remember. Quiet, quiet, quiet. We mustn't disturb the little one. There's that word disturb again. Remember, they don't want to bother the occupant inside the egg, who may be trying to sleep. So they sat very still and very quiet, waiting. For a long time, they waited. They listened to the crickets chirp and the frogs burp. I'm going to teach this baby bird to quack like a duck, Duck boasted. Listen to that word, boasted. Is that a word you've heard before? Show me your thumb up or your fist. If you're boasting about something, you're bragging about it. Duck bragged. You can see on his face, too. He thinks he's better at teaching the little baby bird to quack like a duck than Goose is. Well, I'm going to teach it to honk like a goose, Goose honked back. Sounds like Goose is also bragging or boasting a little bit. I'm going to teach this baby bird to waddle, Goose added. So am I, Duck said. They heard the pitter-patter of the rain. I'm going to teach this baby bird to swim, Duck said. Me too, Goose said. To pass the time, they sniffed wildflowers in the warm sun and shared breadcrumbs while Goose taught Duck to honk. They watched the sunset in the sky, and Duck taught Goose to quack. They counted the stars in the night sky. Let's teach our baby to fly, said Goose. Good idea, said Duck. I'm sure our baby will be a fast learner, said Duck. If it takes after you and me, I'm sure you're right, agreed Goose. There's that word agreed again. They have similar thinking. Together they waited until... Did you feel that, Duck? Duck nodded. Yes. Did you feel that, Goose? Goose nodded. It's time, Goose, it's time, Duck squawked. Quickly, Duck slid down and started running in circles around their egg. What should we do now? He hollered. I think we should remain calm, Goose yelled back. Excuse me, a little voice called out. Duck stopped. In all the exciting confusion, he had failed to notice the bluebird kicking their egg. Can I play too? She asked. Play? This is no time for play, yelled Duck. This is no time for games, yelled Goose. And what's with the kicking? I was only trying to get your attention, said the little bird. Well, you got it, Duck huffed. False alarm, Goose. Back to work. Can't you see that we are very busy here? Goose explained to the bluebird. This is serious business. This is perhaps the most important moment of our lives. Oh my, I am sorry, apologized the bluebird. I had no idea. I just thought that maybe I could play with your ball. It really is a nice one, she added, and then she flew away. Goose gulped. Did she say ball? He whispered to the duck. You know, I did have my doubts, Duck finally said. It is a bit squishier than most eggs I've seen. Yes, and I must say, I was somewhat suspicious of those big dots, Goose admitted. That's a fun word, suspicious. Give me a thumb up if you've heard the word suspicious before. Show me your closed fist if it's a new word for you. Something that is suspicious, you have a feeling that something is wrong with it. It causes you to question, or maybe you're a little uncertain about it. Goose is saying the big dots caused him to question. He was wondering, is that really an egg? It may not be an egg, but it is lovely, said Duck. Oh, absolutely, Duck, Goose agreed. It's a keeper. As the crickets chirped, the frogs burped, and the grass swayed in a gentle breeze, Goose quacked and Duck honked, and the ball bounced, rolled, and sometimes even flew. So, readers, it seems the egg they discovered wasn't really an egg at all. It was a ball. And as they sat on the ball, waiting for the occupant inside to come out, they realized they agreed on lots and lots of different things. So even though they weren't friends at the beginning of the book, the more they discovered they had in common, the more they learned they liked each other, and they became friends by the end. Which is a good thing, because it's a lot more fun when you have a ball and a friend to play with. Today we talked about a few new words. Let's go back and see if we remember the meanings of those new words. We talked about the word disturbing. Remember when Duck was mad at Goose because Goose was disturbing the little bird that was inside the egg? The little bird was trying to snooze, and Goose was bothering or interrupting him because he was yelling. He was disturbing the little bird inside the egg. We talked about the word agreed. Remember in the story when both Duck and Goose agreed that they should be the ones sitting on top of the egg? They had similar thinking. They agreed with each other. We found out in the story they also agreed on lots of other things. We talked about the word occupant. Do you remember what an occupant is? An occupant is a person or a thing that uses or lives somewhere. They thought the occupant of the egg was a little fuzzy bird. Boasted. Oh, do you remember when Duck was boasting about how he was going to teach the little bird to quack? When you're boasting, you're bragging. Duck boasted about being the teacher. Suspicious. Suspicious. When something is suspicious, it causes you to think, or you think something might be wrong. Goose was suspicious about those big dots. He thought maybe that was a clue that it was a ball instead of an egg. We're going to play a game called True or Not True. I'm going to ask you a question using one of our new words. If you think it's true, you're going to give me a thumb up. If you think it's false or not true, you're going to show me your closed fist. Disturbing. If you are disturbing someone, they are glad you are there. Is that true or not true? Did you say not true? If your friends agreed with you, you have the same opinion. True or not true? Let's check. Did you say that was true? When your friends agree with you, you have similar thinking. Occupant. A bird can be an occupant of a nest. True or not true? Let's check. Yes, a bird can be an occupant of a nest. In our story, they thought that the bird was the occupant of the egg. But a bird can also live in a nest or be an occupant of a nest. Boasted. If you boasted about something, you do not think you are very good at it. True or not true? Did you say not true? When you're boasting about something, it usually means you're bragging about it and you think you're better than anybody else. Suspicious. If someone looks suspicious, it might mean they can't be trusted. True or not true? That's right, true. If something's suspicious, it causes you to question. It's maybe something you're uncertain about. Today we learned the meaning of several new words, and that helped us better understand the story of Duck and Goose. Remember, today and every day, as you're reading, when you come across new words that you don't understand, it's good to stop and think about what they might mean. If you can't figure it out from the book, you can always ask somebody who might know, so that you can better understand the books you're reading. I have a job for you today. Think about how Duck and Goose, when they found the egg, how they thought the occupant inside the egg was a little fuzzy bird. What kind of creature would you want to be the occupant of your egg if you discovered one? You don't have to agree with Duck and Goose. You don't have to think it's a little fuzzy bird. You can use your imagination to think of any kind of creature that you might want to find inside an egg. It's time to get that paper and pencil out so you can draw and write about what your occupant would look like. I've enjoyed doing some literacy learning with you today as you keep learning from home. Join us next time on KSPS. And until next time, happy reading.